This is Dave. I don't know if I'm interrupting my own video, depending on how I edit it. It's a long video. We're going to cover 6 pH meters under $100, Bluelab, followed by the AC-Finity at 50 or 80, depending on which model you get. But I like the $50 one. I'm not going to kid anybody on that one. I'm sure the $80 one might have some benefits, but the $50 one with the case and the nutrients or testing solutions has been killing it for me. So really, you want a nice pH pen, it's going to cost you 50, maybe you go up to 100. But again, I want to apologize how long this video is, because I did all the testing solutions. I tested all of them. I compared them. I did 6 meters, 2 strips, and then the drops. So that's effectively 9 different ways to measure pH. Welcome back to Davos. Well, that's not really my slogan. But I have my Hucho shirt on, and I love Hucho and his channel, and I've learned so much from all of his stuff. I just can't say enough good things about what I've seen from him. I have a few minor pet peeves, but that's not what this video is about. Today, I want to talk about the pH meters, pens, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, these things. pH meters, I guess, is the name for it. And I want to first say this isn't the video I really wanted to make. I wanted to probably have about $1,000 in cash. Wanted to go on Amazon and buy maybe 10 or 15 of the variants out there. And in addition to that, I wanted to get like a $300 and something like lab grade pH meter, just to be able to have a reference point of how close a lot of these pH meters are to actually being accurate. I definitely think there's a big gap in the accuracy of the different devices. Yeah, and it's like, if you don't know and you just buy a pH pen for $5 or $4, you stick it in the water, that's what you think the pH is. What reference do you have to go to cross check it with? I'm going to give some people some ideas on how to potentially cross-check for less than $10 the pH meter they actually have. And then the second question is, how much does it actually matter? I know when you're mixing more scientific stuff other than like nutrients, I don't want to say crystal meth, but I saw Breaking Bad. But aside from drugs, if you're mixing other more serious compounds that could explode, yeah, I think the accuracy is going to be basically mandated at that point depending on what you're actually working on. But for plants and our growing, if the pH is off by a degree or 1.5 points or whatever, your plants are just not going to grow. No one's going to get hurt or killed. You just might be a little bummed out. So I get why these low-end meters, maybe they're not accurate, and maybe a lot of people just don't care. And also, I think with a lot of plants, you just need to be in the ballpark. You don't really need to be that accurate. However, being raised and having gone to school, college, grad school as a math and science guy, accuracy to me is top of the list, right? That's if you're going to do science, you might as well be accurate. But for the course of this video and what I'm trying to achieve here, we'll just take that under advisement, that it may be for plants and hydroponics. It doesn't have to be spot on. For most home people, maybe the professionals growing in larger environments, it matters more to them. But for most of us home growers, who I think is my target audience for this, we just need to be in the ballpark, I think. But it still bugs me when you're taking a scientific measurement and it's not accurate. Something doesn't sit right with me. So I started my journey to figure out how accurate are these home pH devices. So before I even get started on all this, I want to put a safety message out there. Not a safety, because no one's going to get hurt. No people will get hurt, I guess I should say in this. And really, this has to deal with all pH meters you could buy that are the electronic type. And it basically comes down to when you store these things, right? If you store them, and when you're actually storing them, they're actually being stored dry. This one's dry. Although you see all the duster on the outside, I was storing it properly. And I guess that really comes down to what's the proper way to store any pH pen, from the $4 one up to the $100 one, and maybe higher than that. The more expensive ones are going to have a replaceable probe, so if you screw the probe up, you just buy another probe, but that still costs money. The cheap ones, I guess you just throw the device away because it's not worth replacing the probe. But how do we store these things? And there are other better videos than mine. I'm going to give the brief rundown. I strongly advise, and maybe I'll put up in the corner the video I watched that was much better about storing the pH meters and what you need to do, and going into detail. I'm going to give you the summary of it. Basically, to store these pH meters and the EC TDS, total dissolved solids, EC is electroconductivity for the new folks. Storing these digital meters, you don't want to store them dry. The other video that I watched that I really liked, the guy had a slogan, if you store it dry, it's going to die, right? And I believe that to be true because the probes on these will go bad, and I think you accelerate how fast they go bad if you don't store them properly. So the proper way to store them is you need something called a KCl solution. K obviously stands for potassium, and Cl is chloride. So you need a potassium chloride solution to store these meters. Now you can buy it pre-made, and that's fine, depending on how much you're doing this. I guess spending like $15 to buy the pre-mixed one is fine. Still just shake it up when you get it. But realistically, what I don't get is for the same equal dollars, you can buy the dry potassium chloride. It just looks like sugar. It's just a white powder. And why would you buy this versus this? Well, you just mix it in water. You can even mix it in tap water. It doesn't matter what kind of water. I did mine in distilled. You can do deionized or you can do tap water. As long as you have the potassium chloride solution in there, it's going to get to storing the probe properly. This, I believe, makes 1.5 gallons, and this right here is 4 ounces. So you're talking $15, 17, 15, under $20. You're gonna get one of these two. If you're really lazy, or you have one little Aero Garden, fine, get this. But if you only got an Aero Garden, why do you got to measure the pH that much anyway? My opinion, the winner way to do it is get the powder. Why the powder mat is better, other than you get so much more, it's very simple to mix. The other video that I'm going to link to, the guy has an online formula, but it's basically like 50 grams. I think it's 50 grams per gallon, and you get a whole lot of grams with this. So you can make as much as you need. And I make about a 1/2 gallon at a time, and then I filled this bottle back up, and then since I have an indoor and an outdoor, I just took an old mustard thing and I put more KCl in that. And basically, I'll just show you how I use it. When I go to store one of these meters, right, and the white stuff on the outside is the KCl stuff, I guess leaching out a little bit. I fill the cap of the pH meter maybe about 1/3 of the way. I don't know if you can see that. And then I just put the meter in and I store it, and a little bit will drip out, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. And now it's properly stored. It's going to last a long time. When you take it out, just rinse it off when you take it out. That's not a big deal. In any type of water, tap or otherwise, I don't think it really matters the water you store it in, but that's really all you got to do is just put it in a little bit of water when you take it out of the KCl solution, and you're good to go. That's it, So for the $4 meter, I guess you could just figure, I'm just going to go buy another $4 meter and not really think twice about it. But for the more expensive $50 and up dollar meters, I think you'd want to spend $15 and properly store. Today we're working with, I don't even know what brand this is, but I've got distilled water for everything I'm doing here today. Some stuff it's good to have, some stuff it doesn't really matter. But that's just, that's just my preference. I also have a machine, so I make my own distilled water now, which is really nice because I don't have to worry about wasting it, because I can easily make more distilled water as much as I need. Okay, so that's our KCl solution. Buy it, make it, whatever you want to do. But if you're going to buy a pH meter, before it arrives, you should have your KCl solution. And it's not like they're going to die overnight. You're going to get 3 to 6 months on average out of one of these pH meters.
before not storing it properly is going to start to matter. And when people say, well, mine didn't die, yeah, but here's what happens. And I've had like more than a half dozen of these, sending them back, throwing them away. Now that I'm making this video, I wish I saved a lot of the ones I tossed, because I would have showed you a whole table full of them. But I just got annoyed, and they're so cheap, I threw them out. What ultimately happens when the probe starts to go bad, you will go to calibrate one of these, and you won't be able to calibrate it. It'll still read the pH. It's not that it won't read it. It's not like it's, when I say dead, I'm an older guy. When I grew up, stuff died. Electronics died. Press the button, nothing. Now, doesn't seem like electronics die anymore. They've improved electronics so much so that it will always turn on. It just doesn't do what it's supposed to. And that's what happens with these meters. That's what happened to me. Was my meter would always turn on, and I put new batteries in it. If it didn't come on, it would turn on, but I couldn't calibrate it, or the readings were all over the place, like I'm going to show you with this one here today. So that was my big issue, was, you know, that I wasn't storing them properly, and I wouldn't get more than 6 months out of them before we started to have a problem. So anyway, let's get on to the meters. Oh, and I promised I was going to do this. I'm going to give you a too long, didn't read answer. Bottom line is, the $100 Bluelab pen is the winner. Nothing under nothing at the $100 price point, in my opinion, and from testing, beats the Bluelab. If you don't want to spend $100 on a pH, I got you. The backup is the AC-Finity, and they make two models of these, a regular model and a high precision model. The regular model, which I've got here, is $50, $49, and it will occasionally go on sale for $39 or something. I've seen it get down that much. And it's nice because you get the case, you get the pH meter, you get a strap for it so you can hang it, and you get the 4, I believe, and the 7 calibrating solutions. And just to show you, I don't just say it, I do it. When I take this lid off, you're going to see, if the camera picks that up, there's some KCl solution in there. So when I store it, this has a good cap. The better ones will, and it'll be a watertight cap, so your solution stays with your meter. So if you don't want to spend $100, spend $50, get the AC-Finity, and I said that's the standard one. They do have a higher accuracy one that's like 80. So they got a $50 one, which is fine in my opinion. They got an $80 one, which is supposed to be more accurate. Again, if I was going to spend $1,000 and do this video the way I really wanted to, I would have had one of those here to show. And then you got $100, get the Bluelab. This thing is like a tank. I do store it properly, and I'll show you as well. You can see there's water in there. What's really neat, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, the Bluelab, their cap actually has a little reservoir, so exactly how much solution to put in, and the cap, the little reservoir at the bottom, perfectly fits the sensor. So it's really nice. I fill the whole thing up. Most of it splashes out, but it keeps enough in the little reservoir that's in the cap, so you always keep your tip wet. Remember our slogan, if it's dry, it's gonna die quicker, I guess we could say. It will, or it'll become a problem, right? So anyway, I got some tests here set up. That's what we're gonna do today. I got the solutions to test. I got a whole bunch of clean, neutral cups. I got my distilled water, wash basin, and we're going to go through and see what we have. Now, I did say earlier in the video, how do you know if you spent the $4 one and you don't want to get all that into it, how do you know if your $4 one's actually working or not? What I did initially, because I didn't think, I guess, I bought two. And I compared the two, but that's where I really noticed something was up, because even though I bought two for less than $10, so the cheap ones, they would not read the same. Two identical ones, bought at the same exact time, the readings would always be off, and I'm like, they're both brand new, how can that be? Calibrated them per the instructions, didn't help. They wouldn't, one was always a degree to a degree and a half higher than the other one. Don't know why. So, if you don't know what to do and you're in that situation, really, what it comes down to is you go old school. What do I mean by old school? When back in my days as youth and lifeguarding and all that, they had pH strips, and what these are just little hunks of paper, and you dip the strip, and then you read what the strip says after you dip it, and then there's a color chart here, And this is what the strip looks like. That's one way. This is a 2-point strip. And then over here is a little more accurate. This is a 4-point strip. And I guess because this one will read from 4 to 9, 4.5 to 9. And while it doesn't go higher than 9, if you're at 9, you know you're too high. So I guess that's even a little better in a way, because you don't need to be at 9 for any of your plants. This one has a 4-point scale, and this goes from 0 to 14. So it does the whole gamut, and they need 4 little indicators, litmus paper, whatever, to test that one. So those are your 2 water ones. And then the other way that we did as lifeguards is drops. And you put these drops in, I think it's 4 or 5 drops per bottle. Per sample. No, 3, 4 drops in a little sample, and it'll change a color, and you compare the color to what's on the bottle. So these are all, I believe, under $10. And then that way you know if your meter, how far off it is, right? If you don't really want to buy a nice meter. So let's get started. I'm going to get some sample water, although I guess we could start with the reference water just to see what our distilled is coming at. And go from there. So what I have is just standard distilled water right here, and I'm going to pour it into a sample container, being this, and I'm going to start measuring. So to get things rolling, let's see what the 2-point measures out at. I dip it in, pull it out. You're only supposed to do it for a couple seconds. I went a little bit long, and I just hold it up to my meter, and I see, I got to do it over the light. Whoa, almost knocked that over. Holding it up to the light. That orange is closer to the... Green is closer. That green. It looks like I'm about 6.5. This looks like where I'm at with this. So I'm at 6.5 on that sample on that one. And maybe because I dunked it too. In, out. Let it go. Hold it up on this one. That's an orange. That goes there. And then that's a green. There. That yellow is off. So it looks like on this one... it doesn't give you the points, so I'm really somewhere between a 6 and a 7 on this one, if the camera picks that up. So again, that's 6.5. This says between 6 and 7. I don't want to waste the entire sample, so I'm going to just pour a little bit of this out into here. I'm going to do my 3 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I did 4. Wow. According to this... That's orange. This says I'm really far down. This says I'm orange, and this is between 4 and 5. So we got 6.5, 6 and 7, somewhere in the 4 range for this. That's interesting. Now let's take our cheapy starting meter. These are all, I attempted to calibrate all these last week with varying amounts of success. And wow, this one's acting up. I don't know why. I'm going to try to read on this one. It looks like, and the meter, it might be the batteries, but it looks like it's giving me a 6.5. It's going to be hard to see that in the camera because the screen's acting up. I mean, it's cheap quality. At this case, I just toss these and get another one. So 6.5 on this guy. Now let's move up the line a little. So the next ones I got into were these between $20 and $40 models. Here too, you can see they're basically the same thing, just from different OEMs. But these are the up to $40 models typically, although some guys will price them way crazy. But you can get this style. And again, if I made the video I really wanted to make, I would have actually taken these apart, seen who made the chipset on the inside, and done that. And I might do a follow-up video to this where I spend a lot of money and show everybody. But then again, it's not that accurate, so why would we really care? It's not like it has to be that accurate, I guess I should say. All right, so I'm going to let him rest a little while I take this one out too. These caps on these, this one has actually a decent cap, but I still put the tape on because neither one of these caps seem to be very solid and sealable like the higher end caps are, where they actually seal and hold everything in. So I use a little bit of tape to seal these. His cap will come off. Turn him on, and I'll turn him on. So we're roughly around 6.5 with this solution. It'd be interesting to see what they get. It's funny, right now while they're warming up, this one says 6.5, and it's the same water. And this one, well, it started off at 9, but it's going down. So anyway, that's about a minute or so in. Let's see what this guy reads. Wow. Wow. So he's about 7.1 is what he reads. And climbing. Now he's 7. Oh, he went up to 7.2. Now he's going back down. And that's what's funny about some of the lower end ones. They do tend to jump around a lot. And the other thing to note about all this stuff is the overall temperature of the water does make a difference. Some of the pH solutions, not this one, the little packs will give you an adjustment table so you know how much pH can be off. It's funny, it went up to 7.2, now it's going back down to 6.9, 6.8. So if it settles on 6.5, I know we did good on this one, on that. This one is dropping. It's now at 7.6 and going down, which is kind of interesting. We'll let him drop down. So now I'm at 6.75 on this guy. He's only got to get down a quarter of another degrees. Oh, he's at 6.59, 6.58. So if he stabilizes around here, that lines up with almost everything else at 6.5, which is where I believe the water to be at. Although this didn't agree for some reason. I don't know why. Up 6.50, but it's still going down. Oh, now I'm at 6.3. Gosh, what's it going to go down to? This has gone down to 7.4. Kind of hanging out there. All right, so this stabilized. It's, oh gosh, didn't quite. This looks like it's going to, I don't want to say it's going to be what it's going to be because it just keeps moving. I think 6.3 is roughly where this guy's going to be. So we got 6.3 on him, which isn't terrible. Again, I already have the KCl solution in the cap. I can reuse it. I just push the cap on. It's not dry. It won't die too soon. And now let me pull this guy out. Another thing I have to have some air to blow these things out, I brought my little air pump up from when I was aerating the water and the hydro stuff. So you're going to hear a little noise as I turn this on to blow off the cap. Sorry, Hoocha, I'm using your shirt in place of a towel. Alright, so that blows that out. I'm going to drop this in the sample while I go and get a couple paper towels. See what it goes down to. Okay, got some paper towels so I don't have to ruin my Hoocho shirt. And we are at 7.5 and counting. I'm going to get the next on deck. It's going to be my AC Finity, which I believe to be very accurate. In order to make this go a little faster, I'm going to have two, because I was just pouring it all out of the, I'll start him soaking in there. I was just pouring it all out of the gallon of distilled water I bought at the store. Curse Splash. I don't know if that brand picks up or not, but it's basically store-bought, distilled, not the stuff I make myself. And we're at 7.3. So he's going to stop at 7.3. So that's funny. He did about 6.5. He did about 6.3 when he finally dropped down. And let's do our same testing, but we're going to use our AC Finity one. I didn't soak it for that long, but I did soak it. The thing is just acting weird. Remember, the other one stuck at 6.3. The other one, this one here, went to 6.3. So this is bouncing around the 6.3. So this chipset, and I'm sure it's probably the same chipset, read that water sample as about 6.3. But you got to mess around with these things because they just don't want to cooperate. Like I said before, I now need to store him. Storing him properly, we'll be putting about 1/3 of the KCl solution in the cap. And then sticking them in. Hopefully none of it spills out. Turning them off. And again, his cap doesn't seal either, so I take a little bit of tape, which doesn't really do a great job, but at least it's something. And I put tape around the cap, and now he's done. So that's the crappy stuff. So you're going to see what's nice about the nice pH meters when you start to get away from the super low end ones, right? They don't bounce around as much, which is thing number one. That's nice. And they're more stable when it comes to reading them. So this guy's right at 6.5. He is moving a little bit, but he's not jumping all over the place. He's just much more stable. So it looks like our AC Finity is going to read what I believe to be 6.5 as 6.5, right? Nice. It's been on 6.5 now for like 30 seconds. I've got the solution in there to keep it wet when I store it. The cap is totally solid. Let me get a... Where's my thing? Come here. And then I'll turn it off. So, and this cap is waterproof, as you can see. And he's got a nice carrying case to go in. So he read 6.5. Let's call it the $20 chipset read 6.3 on the $20 chipset versions. Now comes the big enchilada, the Bluelab, the one we're all waiting for. Let him go. What you'll find with the Bluelab is it usually reads faster. It gets to things quicker. I didn't give him a very, very long time to read, but I'm going to throw him in. He went up a little bit to 7.1 from the initial reading. I didn't soak him as long as I would have liked to. And I don't know if that's going to show up very well. But he's at 7.2 right now. And sometimes with these things, you take them out, put them back in, turn them off. Oh, there's the hold. Off. Turn it back on. That's funny. The AC Finity looks like it might be beating the Bluelab. What a travesty. Now remember, I calibrated these a week ago. So the other thing to do would be calibrate them all right now and see where you go. But that's the one thing that's been pretty nice about the higher end ones. You don't have to calibrate. Like this thing, I wouldn't trust this one day without being calibrated. This is a daily calibration thing, which means you got to buy, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So for El Cheapos, they come with the little packets, and I put the packets in the bottles and I store them with the 3 calibration solutions. You got the 4.01, you got the 686. Again, that's what I was talking about, the calibration level. Let me come around and get the better shot with the camera. So when you calibrate these, you got to take 3 readings, and you put it in calibration mode. The first reading is usually the 6.86, and they want you to be 25 degrees Celsius, although a lot of these pens say they have an automatic adjustment for the water temperature because they all read water. 4.01 at 25 degrees Celsius and 9.18 at 25 degrees Celsius. Those are the ones that come with the super cheap one. And then, well, these are just the same solution in plastic jars. That's all. And then the AC Finity and the Bluelab, their calibration is a little bit different. You still get a 4.0, but instead of 6.86, they do 7.0. and then they do a 10 instead of a 9.18. The only reason why that matters is based on what pen you're using. The pens are all set to calibrate at certain things, so you can't really mix and match your calibration solution. This cheap pen and the $20 varieties, we'll call it the 686 family they want. And the AC Infinity, the higher end ones, let's just say, their solution that they want is 4.0, not 4.01. And then their middle ground, their green one, is 7.0, not 6.86. That's what comes in the AC Infinity kit. And just for reference, the high precision AC Infinity comes with the 10.0 in it. So, again, you're taking a 3-point calibration reading. I will calibrate one of these just to show. Oh, it went down to 6.8, 6.7. So this, remember, I didn't get an exact from the strips. It looks like around 6.5. This read it a little low. The $20 varieties read it a little low. The AC Infinity so far was right on at 6.5. And then this looks like it's going to be 6.7 on the Bluelab, is what it looks like it did. So, slight variations, but all of them are close to being around 6.5. AC Infinity's a little, AC Infinity seemed to be right at 6.5. Bluelab read a little bit on the high side, and the cheaper ones read a little bit low. Not the end of the world for all this. Oh, how do I shut this guy off? Only thing would have been nice, I really like AC Infinity came with a case and you can store everything in it. Granted, I've been so into this getting pH right. I bought a bag and I have all my stuff. It's not going to be included in this video, but I also have the meters for EC and parts per million, EC, and whatever, TDS and EC, like it says on here. But that's not outside the scope of this video because it's going to be long enough as it is. All right, so I said let's calibrate. It's time to calibrate. Let me see if I bring the camera a little closer. Basically, how we calibrate is pretty straightforward. When you turn this device on, I'm going to calibrate from here. This one's got the goofed up screen because the battery's bad. Let's not calibrate him. Alright, I am back again. I don't know how well this is going to come through or show, but if you can see here, this one, the screen's starting to go on him. I swapped the batteries. And you know, I got to say, the first place that doesn't make us use these LR44, what are these again? Gosh, I can barely read it. AG13 LR44. These little coin batteries, and you got to use a couple of them. Some of them use 2, some of them use 4, and they're a real nuisance to swap out and get right. And I'll show you how that works on these. This thing slides out. You got to pop the 2 out of there and then slide it back in. I've already swapped the battery. So what's going wrong with this one, if you can see it, the screen is not good. It's kind of working, but kind of not. So I told you I had a bunch of these. I went and found another one that I have. This one's nice because it's got a lit up screen. I don't think this one calibrates though, which is fine. We'll give it a shot. See how far we can get. So I'm going to first off, because I try to store them properly, even if they're a piece of crap. Take this off, see if the solution all dried up. Hey, what do you know? There's a little solution still in there. Alright, so I'm going to rinse him off. Oh, just for fun. Let's see what he drops this at. Definitely, oh gosh, not 9. Alright, so the solution that we use to calibrate that guy. Let me turn this down a little bit and get the batteries out of the way. We're going to do a 3-point with him. First, he's going to want to go in the 686. Then he's going to want to go in the 4. Then he's going to want to go in the 9. And I don't think this guy calibrates either. So you're in for a real treat here. Oh, look, he's dropping. Trying to read the thing properly. Oh, boy, now he's dropping big. Oh, no, he's going up. And we know that water is between 6.5 and 6.6. Okay, so that's good. So maybe we want to calibrate if it doesn't work. So what we do, we'll put them in this, I think you start with 6.86. Turn them on. And you got to press and hold this calc button. And you got to hold it for 5 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, and say 6.86. So it wants to be in the 6.86 solution. Now, if the thing works correctly, it'll blink 5 or 10 seconds, and then it'll just say solid on 6.86, meaning it knows that's the 6.86 solution, and it's made adjustments itself to know that that's what 6.86 is. Again, this one doesn't calibrate. It'll probably give me the error message. And this is what happens twofold. If you buy a cheap one, it's going to probably eventually happen unless you're crazy lucky. And B, if you don't store it properly in the KCl solution, this will happen as well. Yep, see, there's the ERR. That's typical. So it didn't work for that. Let's clean it off. That's my 6.86 solution not working. Drop him over there. Now let's try the 4. He won't calibrate to anything. I've seen enough of these break, but all right, so I hit the button again. All right, so I know this is 401, but he's reading it as 574. Same deal as before. I press and I hold the calibration thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when it says 6.86, I press the button one more time, and it means it's going to try to read the 4.0 solution, meaning I'm telling the thing that, hey, you're in 4.0 right now. And what you will see happen is it's going to come back and error again, meaning it can't calibrate itself on 4. I'm not going to do this again with the 9 because I know what's going to happen, but you're just going to see what happens when these things start to take a poo on us. And it's not going to read the 4 properly. I'd like to show you this with the other one, but the other one is just being a butt. It just doesn't want to... Well, actually, the other one did say it wants to read. Yep, there's my error. And then this guy, I'm trying to put him on the 6.86. See what he does with that. See if he'll eventually take it in. Again, his screen is all messed up, so it's a little hard to read him. Yeah, but he took it. I know it's hard to read that, but this one actually, even with this goofed up screen, it was able to read that as 6.86. And I'll do the 4 next. So once again, I put it in there. It's hard to see, but I press this 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now I can press it one more time. Now it's going to try to read the 4.0 solution, and it's blinking, which you can barely see. Yep. And it's hard to read it, but it looks like it's calling it like 397, which is almost 4. Again, this one calibrated, the other one didn't. And this is just the various issues with these, the cheapy ones. You run into your problems, and that's just what it is. I don't know what again, both of these are probably trash. I don't know whether I should even keep them or just toss them. But anyway, so let me get everything back out. So you got your paper, which we went over. It's good for a reference. You've got your $5 meters here, right? You've got your $20 to $40 range meters there. And then you have your $50 and $100 meters as well. So you got your 50 and you got your 100. So we got everything here. We got our 50, we got our 100, we got, I think one I paid 20, one I paid 40, and I know I didn't pay more than $10 for, well, I bought, one of them came in a set and one I bought standalone. So what you're looking at here is the most common pH meters you're going to find on Amazon today. And again, the brand name doesn't really matter because this one is CIZTADA. I don't even know what the name is on that one. Those at least are pretty constant with VIVOSUN as the name. Although I've seen them, as other things. You'll see when you get the other OEMs or whatever, it'll be the same exact casing, but the plastic, instead of yellow, it might be like green or pink or some other blue, some other color. Same with these. I've seen these. Usually these are white, but I've seen them in all different colors. The AC Infinity and the Bluelab, the one thing you know for sure is the color is going to be the same, because they don't need to play those games with white boxing their pH meters to other people. So you're going to see pretty consistently what these actually turn out to be when you actually, buy. Well, the AC Infinities are always going to be black because that's like their logo color and all that. So you don't have to worry about those. And then these little crappadoodles, usually white, but who knows what OEM's going to get a hold of it and do whatever they try to do. And like I said, the VIVOSUNs, if they have the VIVOSUN name, they will be yellow. If they don't have the VIVOSUN name, they will not be yellow. So anyway, like I said, when you buy these pH meters off of Amazon, you really do get what you pay for. Although the AC Infinity, I'm kind of feeling like that's like starting to become my number one meter. I trust Bluelab more because they're strictly a scientific company, where AC Infinity, yeah, they're focused on growing stuff, but they're not all scientific. They make fans, grow tents, lights, and all that. And granted, that's good because they're in the right market space, but they're not just a scientific company. Where Bluelab, these guys, they don't make tents, they don't make fans, they don't make lights, they just make scientific devices. So, points for that, where they kind of stay in their lane and they stick to what they do. So, again, this is just a matter of whose device do you want to buy? What do you think is best? I always say get the paper just to help you have a sanity check. My liquid failed today, though, because it was way off. I got to look into what that liquid might be. This might be contaminated or something, because normally it's not off like that. But that happens. When I worked as a lifeguard, we had those go bad a couple times, and we put way too much alkaline in a pool, and people got skin issues. But I wasn't working that day, so it wasn't my problem. But I went in and heard about it the next day. So anyway, paper's not bad as a backup. These two right here, $50, you can't go wrong with the AC Infinity. If you want to go up to 80, fine. Bluelab is good. Doesn't come with a case for $100. These aren't terrible. They're just a little finicky, and these are cheap trash. But that one, the one that wouldn't calibrate, it was reading the 4 as almost 6. So it was off by a full 3 degrees. So the one of these that went bad, that's why you have your paper strip. So when one of these goes bonkers, you can at least fact check it with the paper, knowing that the solution that you got your plants in isn't actually 6 or 5.86. It's actually 3 point something or 4 point something. So, I'd be careful with trusting plants with these. These are a little better. This is where you want to get to, and then fact check everything as always with your paper. Long video, I know. It's been an even longer year sorting through all the pH stuff. I will probably, if I can, try to make another video where I get the lab version and I get a couple more of the cheapies out there and I actually rip them apart to show you the guts and what chipsets are on the inside. pH meter journey has been an interesting one. I thank you for allowing me to share some of this with you. Hopefully somebody gets something out of this. Just, I can really say you got to spend $40 or $50 to get a good pH meter. AC Infinity, you can't go wrong. I really like that. The Bluelab's a little bit nicer, a little bit more rugged. Oh, the Bluelab's 100% waterproof. I think the AC Infinity is too. But I got to tell you, the first one of these guys that makes one of these that can run on AAA batteries, that's going to be hard to beat, because these goofy batteries, the LR44s or whatever, it's just a nightmare buying these and replacing them and all that. So it'd be really nice if somebody had a completely waterproof one, took AAA batteries. You're going to always have to calibrate whatever you buy. You're not going to get around with that. And it'd be nice, and if the kit also came with KCL solutions. So a box, like they did. So the ultimate one of these would have a box. It would have enough for all three, which I know their next model up does. And it would have a fourth bottle being your KCL solution, so you don't kill the damn thing too soon. So 4 of these bottles, 1 being KCL, the other 3 being the test fluids, with a nice case, carry strap as well. That would be awesome if somebody made one of those. 100% waterproof, AAA batteries. Somebody makes that in the way of a pH meter, and the darn thing's accurate and stays calibrated. That's what everybody wants. That will clean up this market. The first, I hate to say Asian Chinese company, but the first Asian Chinese company that gives us all of those things, and provided it's accurate and you don't have to calibrate it every week, you're gonna run away with the show and keep it under $100. You know, you can go $99, but if you had all those features, I'll come back and do a video of this is the only pH meter to buy. Unfortunately, we don't have that now. AC-Finity's the good compromise. Bluelab's the better scientific backing one. But again, you're almost splitting hairs with those two, especially with today's tests. So I definitely, AC-Finity, Bluelab, can't go wrong. It's a matter if you want to spend $50 or $100. Any of this is valuable. I can use the likes. I can use subscribes. Nowhere near monetized because my channel's crap. But, you know, I'm working on that. And if it ever gets better and I have money coming in, I will buy more devices to evaluate. And then in some cases send them back after the eval's done. I thought about doing this for that, but I try not to over abuse my return privilege with these people. I hope somebody learned something. Give me the like or the subscribe if it was worth something to you. Sorry about the length. I'll do the best at editing this down, but we had a lot of stuff to cover. And I hope everyone's having a great day. I hope your plants are strong, healthy, and thriving. I hope your 2025 growth season is good, and I hope wherever you are watching this, I'm sending out joy and happiness and happy growth thoughts to all your plants. And that's it. Adios. Davo out. Have a good day.